We are now going to talk about the timing of Sefiras haOmer. We know Sefiras haOmer is supposed to be done by night. Count the next day. The day starts by night. We start counting by night. However, the question is one allowed to count Sefiras haOmer during the twilight time between sunset and nightfall, which is called Bein Hashmashas. During that time is known in Chazal as Safik Yoim, Safik Laila. It's a suffix whether it's day or night. So can one count Sefiras haOmer during that time? So we have a machlikas. Some say it's mutter to make a bracha and to say Sefiras haOmer then, even though it's a suffix whether it's night. Maybe it's day, it's night, it's in between. The reason being is, since Sefiras haOmer is a mitzvah midrabanan today we don't have the Korban haOmer, we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, so Sefiras haOmer today, according to most opinions, is only midrabanan. Since only midrabanan, we could be lenient based on the rule of suffix derabanan lekula and allow a person to count during Bein Hashmashas. That's what one of Peshita holds. However, there are others that say, they argue, and they say you're right, that the rule is entirely the general klal, suffix derabanan lekula. If you have a doubt when it comes to mitzvah midrabanan, you go to the lenient side. However, you're not allowed to do that l'chatchila. You can't on the outside bring yourself into a situation of suffix. You should rather wait till it's clearly night. When it's nightfall, tzeisek yechavim, the stars come out, and then you'd say Sefiras haOmer. So, who is the halacha like over here? This machlekes. So, it depends. Majority of the people, the Alter Rebbe explains at that time, majority of the people would not wait till tzeisek yechavim. They would daven mincha, and after mincha, they would daven ma'ariv, and they would daven an early ma'ariv, but not too early. But by the time they finish Shemona Esrei, they're already holding after sunset, after Shkia, and they would count Sefiras haOmer during that time. That's what most people did. However, medaktikim and mitzvahs, those that are careful with mitzvahs, would wait until tzeisek yechavim nightfall to say Sefiras haOmer. And taka, that's roy for everyone really to accept that minhag to wait until nightfall. But if you did count Sefiras haOmer during Bein Hashmashas, according to all opinions, you were yoytze the mitzvah Sefiras haOmer.
I remember this year for Seder, we didn't count Sefiras haOmer in the shul I was at. We waited until the Seder. The rabbi who was leading the Seder said, now's the time to count.
Right, so that is based on a different minhag. That's not an issue of nightfall now, because the Seder has to start by night.
Yeah.
So your Seder started when it was dark out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
However, when it comes to the first night of Sefiras haOmer, there is different customs. Some count Sefira right after Ma'ariv, like every night. Mm-hmm. Some people count on the first night after the Seder.
No.
Or maybe after the main part of the Seder.
He counted right before the Seder started.
Oh, maybe he wanted, because maybe certain people would forgot or didn't do it earlier, so he wanted to make sure everyone did it.
He wanted to make sure.
Or they daven Ma'ariv, or unless they daven Ma'ariv before this month.
I think he was just trying to make sure that it was at the proper Zman.
Right. That's a spot. Now, let's take a look inside. Sif Yud Beis.
What page?
Page Taf Lamed on the top. Yesh Oimrim, some say, Shemuta Levarich V'lisper Bein Hashmashas. One is allowed to make a bracha and say Sefiras haOmer during Bein Hashmashas time, during twilight. The Afal Pishu Safik Laila Safik Yom Over. Even though it is a doubtful whether it's the night or it's the past day during that time. Bimkain, and if so, if it's the past day, hey Yomer, how can one say Hayoim? Today is Shnei Yomim, second day of the Omer. Shema Dayin Yemish, maybe it's still the first day. Mikomakim still know this opinion holds that Kivan since Shir Sfira Bezmanazam Diris Soif from Sfira these days is only Midrabanon. And the klal, the rule is suffix divrei seif and lahako. When you have a suffix, a doubt, and a derabanan, you go to the lenient side. So we could be lenient and say that it's night already. We don't know if it's night, but we could be lenient and say it's night. And then your sphere is a good sphere. That's one opinion. However, Yishchelk and the others argue with this. When they say, and the outset, one should not do this. A person should not bring oneself into a situation of doubt. Even with the Rabbanon, one should not bring oneself into doubt. So meaning the rule of Safik the Rabbanon Lakula is not to be applied l'chatchila, but it's only b'diavad. And that's by they brought in a few places, like this shita, not only regarding Sfiras Omer, regarding other dinim. One should not l'chatchila create a Safik the Rabbanon. In any type of Safik. Ve'in lisper atzeis k'chom shalayla, one should not count until it's for sure night when the stars come out. Shalayla vadei. V'chein oisem medakim, and those that are careful about mitzvahs, that's what they do. V'chein roya l'chol adam laseis, and really that is the appropriate manner that all people, not only medaktik in mitzvahs, but all people should really do the mitzvah, because that's the ikar halacha. Mikol makim still in all, the minig is not that way. Haminig hamayin, the prevalent minig of the folk, Achshav now is Kisvar Rishen, like the first opinion, Lisper to count the Vein HaShmasha. So they daven Ma'ariv, when they come to the ending of Ma'ariv at least, they are holding after Shkia, or they wait until it's after sunset, and after sunset they count Sfiras Omer, and then they go. Now, what happens if someone is davening Ma'ariv early, he's davening Ma'ariv during Ben HaShmashas, so he's Meiko to davens Ma'ariv early, however, Sfiras Omer, he wants to wait till nightfall. But he finds himself at a minyan that's all saying Sfira early. Like this minig that we read in Tillah. What should he do? Someone who wants to be careful and count specifically by nightfall. He's davening Ma'ariv before nightfall with a minyan that's davening Ma'ariv before nightfall. V'soy from their counting also bein hashmashas. What should he do? Toiv, the best thing is sheyisper imayim b'lei bracha. He should count with them without a bracha. Miyach shebedait, and he should think in his mind like this: Im eshkach lisper b'laylev, I will forget to count tonight. I'm going to rely on my sphere that I'm counting now during twilight in hashmashas time that I should be yotzeh. However, if I'm not going to forget, and by nightfall I will remember to count again, my mind now, I have a mind, is not to be yoitza with the sphere that I'm counting now with the minyan. Okay, before we go further, for the reasoning. So Lamaisa, this person, what should he do? We found himself such a minyan. He should count without a bracha. And he should have in mind, if I remember later to count, so that's the real counting, and I'll count with a bracha later. And if I didn't remember, so I always can rely on the fact that I counted now. But you can't count now with a bracha, and count later again with a bracha. It's not going to work twice. You can't say bracha twice. Now you can listen to the bracha that the Shliach Tzibur is saying, the Chazan is saying, B'yoytzu with his bracha, say Sfiras Omer with them, and make this condition in your mind. That's what someone should do. This way you cover all your bases. You don't want to forget, person davens on their own in their house, is on their own in their house late in the evening, they're not going to remember to say Sfiras Omer. When you're with a minyan, everyone's doing it, you remember. This way you cover all your bases. Now, there is a rule. Let's get a little background to the next 10 lines over here. Now, the Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Mitzvahs. Do mitzvahs need kavanah to be yoitza, or if I just did the mitzvah, I'm yoitza? Obviously, the optimal way to do a mitzvah is not just to do it, but to have kavanah, what you're doing. But what happens if someone didn't have kavanah? Are you yoitza or you're not? It's a machlokes in Gemara. The halacha we paskin is that when it comes to a mitzvah min ha-Torah, the mitzvah min ha-Raisa, you have to have kavanah to be yoitza. If you don't have a mind to be yoitza the mitzvah, you're not yoitza. For example, if you're eating the mitzvah of matzah, let's not talk about the mitzvah of matzah. Let's talk about a mitzvah, a day-to-day mitzvah, putting on tefillin. If you don't have in mind that you're putting on tefillin to do a mitzvah, you just you put it on. You were sleeping when you put it on. You were half asleep. You were just putting it. You didn't realize you were doing a mitzvah. You're not yotzeh because you're doing a mitzvah. You have no intention to do a mitzvah. Or if you said Kriya Shema in the morning, you didn't have in mind to do a mitzvah. You were saying Kriya Shema because you were reading it in the Torah. You were learning Psukim in the Torah, and you came to the Parsha of Kisha, or a Sefer was writing a Sefer Torah, and he's reading it when he's writing it, and he's reading what he's writing, and he says the Shema, but he didn't have a kavanah for the mitzvah. He just had kavanah to read it to help him write, to do his Sefiras. He's not yoytz in the mitzvah Kriya Shema. It's a mitzvah min haTorah. He didn't have kavanah. I'm not talking about here the kavanah of knowing each word what it means. I mean the kavanah to know you're doing a mitzvah. No, I'm doing a mitzvah. I'm doing this in order to be yoytz in my mitzvah.
But when you do kavanah, you have to understand the word, whether you're reading.
There's two types of kavanah. There's one kavanah. Every mitzvah in Torah requires, what we're talking about now, requires the kavanah lotzas b'idei chavasei. I'm doing this in order to fulfill my mitzvah to Hashem. It's a mitzvah I'm doing now. If you don't have that kavanah, you're not yotzeh. Now, except for a mitzvah like matzah. A matzah or other mitzvahs of food, if you eat the food, since your body had pleasure from the food, even if you didn't have a mind, you're yotzeh. But all other mitzvahs min haTorah, you have to have a mind, I'm doing a mitzvah. However, knowing what I'm saying, every word, not necessarily. Like for Kriya Shema, you need to know the words Shema, min haTorah, Shema, and as well you should also know Baruch Shem. With the Rabbanan, you have to also know Baruch Shem, what you're saying. The rest, obviously, you should know what you're saying, but if you don't, you're still yotzeh. Still yotzeh. But so there's two types of kavanah. There's a kavanah what you're saying, and then there's a kavanah I'm doing a mitzvah. If you don't think you're doing a mitzvah, you know, for example, I pick up a lulav and esrog. The first day of Sukkot, the mitzvah lulav and esrog is a mitzvah min haTorah. If I take a lulav and esrog, and I just pick it up because I want to look at the beauty of the esrog, I want to see someone's lulav and esrog, pick it up to look at it. Wow, such a beautiful lulav and esrog. How much did you pay for this? And I put it down, and then I don't do lulav and esrog again. I wasn't yoytz to the mitzvah. I didn't pick it up in order to do a mitzvah. So even though if I pick it up, I had in mind to do a mitzvah, but I didn't know the meaning behind lulav and esrog. I didn't understand the meaning behind it. You're still yoytz. We're talking about just to know you did a mitzvah. And that's when it comes to mitzvah in Torah, you have to have kavanah. However, when it comes to mitzvah midrabanan, over here we say there's a machloikis whether you need to have kavanah or not. By a deraisa, we hold the halacha, it's a machloikis in Gemara. But in Poskim, everyone agrees that if you don't have kavanah, you're not yoytz. We follow the opinion you need to have kavanah. However, when it comes to mitzvah midrabanan, it's a machloikis whether you need to have kavanah or not. So it's not pashut. And therefore, there is an opinion which holds that you were yoytze even if you didn't have kavanah. So Sefiras haOmer today, getting back to our situation, is a mitzvah midrabanan. It's not min haTorah today. So there's an opinion which holds that I don't need to have kavanah. So says the Alter Rebbe, what happened over here? You were davening in a minyan, and you said Sefiras haOmer. They're davening early before it says Kichavim, and everyone's counting Sefiras haOmer. And you really are for those that are always makbid to count Sfir later. You're Mekel and davening Ma'ariv earlier, but you're always makbid to count Sefiras haOmer later. What should he do? So the Alter Rebbe, you should count Sefiras haOmer now, and have in mind that if I say later, this one's shouldn't be counted.
You're saying without a bracha.
Say now without a bracha.
And later on with the bracha.
Right. So it says Alter Rebbe, l'chora, we have a problem here. There's a opinion which says that a mitzvah midrabanan doesn't need kavanah to be yotzeh. Say in a chanami you didn't have kavanah to be yotzeh when you were davening with that minyan, but you anyway said it. You said it. You were yotzeh. You don't need kavanah. It's a mitzvah midrabanan. So you're already yotzeh. You did the mitzvah. So how could this condition help? You were there in the minyan. You said it. Now you can't say tonight with a bracha again. You could go count again.
How do you condition kavanah? How do you make a condition with your kavanah? I mean, you want to say it's a mice like. But to say kavanah, like my thoughts were not, or they were.
You should just know that there are some achreinim that argue with the whole concept of making a Tanai by mitzvah. If I recall correctly, when it comes to maybe Kriyish Mazam is a Kiva Ege that's not happy with the concept of making a condition. But in the Magen Avraham, the Alter Rebbe, other places can hold that you could make a condition in your mind that when you do a mitzvah you can make a condition. But not everyone agrees with
You're
that.
going to be making a bracha over here, so like
It's considered that your first Sefira was nothing. When you count later, it's retroactively it's not a Sefira. Here the Alter Rebbe is bothered with the fact that good you didn't have kavanah to be yaitzi first time. You don't need kavanah according to one of the opinions. If you don't need kavanah, you're a yaitzi anyways. So then so he says, but when I have in mind that I dafka do not want to be yaitza, it's different. You cannot be forced to be yaitza. If you didn't have in mind anything and you counted with the first minyan, let's say you weren't thinking anything and you counted with them, of course you can count with a bracha tonight. You can count again, and you should count again because you're medakta, count again, but without a bracha. Because even though you didn't have kavana, you counted. You didn't realize you counted, but you were supposed to have in mind that you want to count later. You didn't. But l'maisa, if you have in mind beferish, I do not want to be yaitza now, if I count later, then you're not yaitza according to all opinions.
Can you opt not to count with the minion and wait until
Yes, you could.
later?
You could, but it's better not to because you gain both. If you
Got it.
count now, in case you forget later, you still have now.
Okay.
And you're yaitza now from according to the opinion that you could count ben hashmashes. So you want to cover all your bases.
Got
It's
it.
better. Bialacha, you can wait. There's no chiyuv for you to count now. You might remember later. So the Torah is not going to tell you you're not going to remember later.
Yeah.
This is a good advice. He's telling you count now with the minyan and make this condition as an advice.
The only thing I'm personally concerned about, I'm not going to be able to make it through the whole thing, is Kriyat Shema Halamita, because sometimes I fall asleep halfway into it or 3/4 of the way into it because it's hard. It's late at night and I'm very tired.
Well, you daven Ma'ariv. If you daven Ma'ariv, did you daven Ma'ariv after nightfall?
Yes.
You were yaitza Kriya Shema then.
Yeah.
Yaitza Kriya Shema Lamita. A minute that we say Kriya Shema before you go to sleep, but you yaitza the mitzvah
Okay.
Kriya Shema already earlier.
Okay.
Now, yeah, let's read this inside. Sha'af. The ending of the line is the word sha'af. Sha'af l'ha'imrim. Even according to those that say, if you make this condition, even though according to the opinion that holds mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavana lotzes bein dechavase, the mitzvahs do not need kavana to be yaitza. Mikolma kivstolno kishem mechad befeidish, one has in mind explicitly sheloi lotzes beheni dechavase, that I do not want to be yaitza if I count later. Bevadeni yaitza v'akarchi, for sure one cannot forcefully be made to be yaitza. I made by the ficha, therefore. When one counts at night, you're allowed to count even with a bracha. However, what happens if you did not make this explicit condition? That's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. You did not have a mind explicitly. That I will not be yoytz of this sfira when I count by night. Ella, rather, what did you do? You were davening with this minyan that was davening before Tzeis HaKichavim, right? And counting before Tzeis HaKichavim. Ella, first time you counted with them without having any condition. Even if you didn't make a bracha now. You didn't make a bracha now. You didn't even answer amen after the shliach tzibur's bracha. One should not make a bracha again when he counts at night, when he remembers at night, without making this condition. Maybe it was already nightfall when you counted then, when it was during Ben Hashemash's time. Or you already yaitza according to the opinion, the mitzvahs don't need kavanah. Even according to the opinion, the mitzvahs do need kavanah. From Svira today is midrabanan. Some say some say that mitzvahs midrabanan, according to all opinions, don't need to have kavanah today. You don't need to have kavanah. So therefore, if you counted with the tzibur, even if you didn't make a bracha, and you didn't say amen with them, but you counted, and you didn't make this condition, you cannot count that night anymore with a bracha. Even if I didn't have kavanah, you counted. And now he goes even further to a bigger chiddush to Alter Rebbe, and something difficult to keep. What happens if you didn't even count with them? You stood by at the minyan and you did not count, because you're going to wait for the nightfall to count. You count, you heard the svira from people davening. Shesafru. Well, in the skav and klal they did not have kavanah to be moitzi you. V'gam hula in the skav and shmiya he did not have explicit intention to be yoitze with the minyan. Ela shama lefi tumay. He just listened, just because he was standing there, he was waiting. He was planning and counting later. She was sitting there waiting, and he was listening to them. He's going to wait till they get to Aleinu. I'll say Aleinu with them. In such a case, he can no longer make a bracha by night.
Really?
No. Someone who hears as if he said. So you heard it. So it's like if you said the Sefiras haOmer. I didn't have kavanah. I was just standing there stam. I wasn't having kavanah. I wasn't having kavanah not to be yaitza because I didn't make my condition, and I didn't have kavanah to be yaitza. I was just standing there waiting. However, remember, there's an opinion that says mitzvahs don't need kavanah by a derabanan according to all opinions. So it's a mitzvah derabanan. You didn't have any kavanah. According to that opinion, you were yaitza already. If you're yaitza, I can't make a bracha. Remember, when it comes to a bracha, we're very makbid that you can only say a bracha if you know with almost certainty that you need to say the bracha. 75%, let's say, to the sway to the side that you need. Some even require 100%. Since a bracha, you're saying the name of Hashem, and if you say a bracha for no reason, it could be an issue of Leisisa Shem Alekecha Lashav. Chazal were very machmir with the inyan of saying Hashem's name for no reason. So you have to know with either absolute validity, certainty that I'm allowed to make a bracha, according to all opinions, or according to most opinions I can make a bracha. And there's machlokes about this, how far we demand by a bracha in order to make it. If it has to be 100% you need to make it. If a certain opinion tells you you don't need to make a bracha, even though some opinions say you could make the bracha, not necessarily you're allowed to say the bracha. Because when it comes to a bracha, we're very strict that it has to be l'chol hadeis, or according to Reiv hadeis, that you're able to make the bracha.
If you heard somebody saying the bracha, he said amen without any kavanah, and later on he wanted to make a bracha, he can do that?
So like this. The according to the Alter Rebbe comes out something pretty serious. It means if I'm in a shul and I'm learning on the side, and meanwhile there's someone saying Sefiras haOmer out loud, and I hear him saying the Sefira, I have no kavanah to be yaitza, but I'm here in the room and I hear him saying the Sefiras haOmer. He has no kavanah to me, I have no kavanah to him. But I don't have a kavanah I don't want to be yaitza. I'm here, I'm in the room, I hear him saying the Sefiras haOmer. I'm just listening, what he's saying. Can't say that night later on with a bracha.
Can we have?
It could be even at night. And talk about at night the situation. It could be at night. It's both. He's counting at night, and you're going to count. You're going to daven in a half hour. Once you hear, since mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavana midrabanan, it's don't need kavana. I was already yaitza. So obviously you should count again, because if some say that you do need to have kavana, even by a drabanan, right? But since there are opinions that say that you were already yaitza, Sefiras haOmer, so you can't say with a bracha that night.
Can we have?
Not everyone agrees with Alter Rebbe, but Alter Rebbe is pretty clear with this, and he has a way out. His way out is that you have to have in mind that I dafka do not want to be yaitza.
Got it.
Every single time, or one time? Like
Well,
I say right now, I don't want
Yeah, right now, yeah. You have to have in mind I don't want to be yaitza.
You don't say minastam, that's what people will want.
You have to have in mind, by the way, I want to just make it more clear, he's actually strict machmir about how you have to have in mind. You can't have in mind, I'm not being yoitza with him.
Even b'shas ma'aseh.
It's not going to help, even b'shas ma'aseh. Why? I'm not being yoitza means, I'm not being yoitza, I'm going to be yoitza later. Good, say that, I'm not being yoitza. But you don't need kavanah to be yoitza. You can't think, I'm not going to have kavanah to be yoitza now. I'm not going to have kavanah to be yoitza doesn't mean anything. It just means you're not having kavanah. You have to have a mind, I don't want to be yoitza. When you hear this, I don't want to be yoitza. Not I'm not having a mind to be yoitza.
I don't want to.
Don't be. Not having a mind to be yoitza means that you didn't have any kavanah to be yoitza. Good. So, but you're still in the same problem because mitzvahs ain't has kavanah by the rabban. They don't need kavanah. You have to have a mind. I do not want to be yoitza.
By the way, with me, this is very applicable because the very reason why I don't recite the Sevira with the minion is so I can go home and recite it with my wife because I want to make sure she's reciting Sevira haOmer with a bracha.
Right? So Lamaisa, that's the only thing with this is that one of the old questions is, when we daven, we always hear the Chazan saying the Sefira before we do. The Chazan says it first, or the Rav, or the Shul, and then everyone says it. So l'chora everyone was Yaitze. So this was asked already by the Alter Rebbe had a Talmud. One of his students was Nehemiah from the city of Dubrovna. His name was Ginsburg, but then they were known by the name of their cities. Nehemiah from Dubrovna. He was actually a businessman. He made talesim and he had a factory. And he was a very big Talmud Chacham. He wrote Shuvas. He married actually a granddaughter of the Alter Rebbe. And he has notes on the Shulchan Aruch on Sefiras haOmer. And he writes regarding when you hear, it's different because as the Alter Rebbe himself is going to say in a later sif here, if you go over to someone and you ask him, what's tonight's Sefira? And the guy tells you what that night's Sefira is, you're not yoitza. There's no shaila, there's no chash that maybe you're yoitza from hearing it from him. Why? Because when I ask, it's explicit that I don't want it to be yoitza. Because I'm asking you in order to count on my own. So it's implicit that I don't want to be yoitza with hearing. Mm-hmm. The same thing he says, when you ask someone, similarly to when you're in a shul and hearing from the chazan. We all listen to the chazan just to make sure we're counting the right one. So that's why it's instituted to hear the chazan saying the Sefira, and then everyone else says it. So it's really, we're just listening in order to be yaitza. Some people I hear in shul, they want to be machmer, and I hear there's when you need to be yaitza bracha, if someone needs to be yaitza bracha for someone else, like say kiddush, you're not supposed to say baruch hu baruch shmai. When the person is making kiddush says baruch atah Hashem mekadosh Shabbos, you should answer amen, but you should not say baruch hu baruch shmai. Because baruch hu baruch shmai could be a hefsek. When you hear a Hashem's name, you're supposed to say baruch hu baruch shmai and praise Hashem's name. However, if you need to be actually yoitza that bracha and that mitzvah yourself, so you're not to say baruch hu baruch shmai, and as well like say a chasan and kala under a chuppah, and the Rav makes the bracha, he's making it for them, the bracha of the kiddushin, asher aser lanu as behita lanu as the whole lashon over there, and the ending would he say the chasan and kala are told before not to say baruch hu baruch shmai, because otherwise then they might not be yoitza, we consider to be yoitza. So by Sefiras haOmer, some people want to show clearly they're not being yoitza with the chazan. So they make sure when they hear they say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmai that they're not being yaitze. You don't have to do that, but that's what they do in order to show that they're not being yaitze with the bracha of the chazan.
But most people repeat when the chazan say the bracha. Most people repeat, make the bracha.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Everybody do it.
Yeah, that's the minhag. You're allowed to. It doesn't say about this Baruch Hu Baruch Shmai anywhere. You could say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmai because you're not being yaitze. Right. You should say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmai, but you don't have to. But it's not something that specifically because you said it. The answer to that is that the Nehemiah is explaining is that that's like sort of like when you ask someone, which is explained later, is considered implicit when you ask him that you're planning on not being yoitza. But if you stop sitting in shul and you're hearing, I find it sometimes hard when you're davening in a place where there's a few minyanim going on. And then maybe you're going to hear from another minyan. Try your best. It's not, a person shouldn't get OCD about it. You have to be...
Just to be managed like a ball.
Yeah, because listen, the pashtas, if you're davening with another minyan, it's also really implicit that you have a kavanah. And I mean, you have kavanah in the beginning. I'm not being yotzeh. I don't want to be yotzeh from any of the svidas. I'm doing my own svida. Let's see it inside. Okay, the line starts with afilu, yeah? Let's do it again. Afilu is safimam klal, even at the beginning of the paragraph. Even if one didn't count with them at all, shasham asfira minechom, and at tzibur you heard the sfira from one of the tzibur, shasaf which counted, v'loy niskaven klal lohitziyoi. And they did not have a mind at all to be moitziyu. Megam, who when he as well in his scam lots of issues did not have a mind to be yotzeh, and rather shavel if he told me he heard it without having any intention. Lo yivarech, he can no longer make a bracha because she's allowed when he counts at night. Shehashemeya koina, the one who hears as if he said it. Even if you have in mind, I don't have kavanah to be yotzeh the sfira. I don't have kavanah just means I'm negating that I'm not having any kavanah. It doesn't worth anything. According to the opinion, according to the opinion that hold by the Rabbana, you don't need kavanah at all. Good, shkoyach, you say, I'm not having kavanah. Good, you're not having kavanah. You're still yaitz even if you don't have kavanah. It's a mitzvah midrabban. Or rather, imkain mechashev. Only if you have a mind, ani miskaven, I have a mind shaloi lotzes. You should have a mind not to be yaitza. I don't want to be yaitza. Kol zahu bebein hashmashes. All of this whole entire halacha up until now was talking about when there's a minyan counting Sefiras haOmer during bein hashmashes time. But what happens if the minyan is davening Ma'ariv early before Shkia? What do they do with Sefiras haOmer? It's not only it's before Tzeisek Yichavim, it's during bein hashmash time, it's even before Shkia. What should you do with Sefiras haOmer then? You don't have a suffix. We know for sure it's daytime. It's the day before. In a chanami, then you shouldn't count Sefiras haOmer. That you shouldn't count at all. So those people that daven Ma'ariv, who have a minig, that daven Ma'ariv a whole year early, and during Sefiras haOmer have that minig, what they do is they don't count Sefiras haOmer, and they tell everyone that night they should remember to count later.
Like early Shabbos.
And what do they do?
They say Krishma and
They make an announcement.
They make an announcement that everyone should remember to do it later. Yeah.
And after what time too. And kids all say after what time.
That's the taste.
Yeah. Because there's no minig to go. This whole concept that we're talking about until now is that Bein Hashmash is a suffix whether it's night or day, and it's a derabanan. The suffix derabanan you can make all and say that it's already night. You can count. But before Shkia, everyone agrees it's day. So how could you be Yaitse? However, still in all, the Alter Rebbe is going to say there is taka no minig to count before Sfira. The minig then was to count during Ben Hashmashes. To count before Shkia, there's no minig. But if someone made a mistake and counted even before Shkia, he cannot count that night with a bracha. Why not? L'chor, it's daytime. Because since you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv early, the reason why people daven Ma'ariv early is the machlokes in Gemara between Rabbi Yehuda, we spoke a number of years ago here, Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda held that from Plaga Mincha on, an hour and a quarter before sunset, Shkia, I don't mean an hour and a quarter literally, but an hour and a quarter of the Shoy Zmaniyos, you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv because he held it's night. That's nighttime for davening purposes. When it comes to davening, you daven mincha. What he held Rabbi Yehuda was you have to daven mincha before plag, and Ma'ariv after plag and mincha. Even though it's fully day out, no discussion. It's fully day. For Ma'ariv purposes, you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv early. Now, Chachamim held, the Rabbanim held no. Ma'ariv, you should only daven at nightfall. And therefore, mincha, plaga mincha on, is considered like day, 100% day, and you're not allowed to daven ma'ariv, and you could daven mincha up until night, up until shkia, up until nightfall. Now the Gemara says that there's no clear psak, whether we fall like Rabbi Yehuda or like the Chacham. Therefore, the Gemara concludes: the Ovid kemar Ovid, the Ovid kemar. If one wants to go like this master, he could, and wants to go like this master, he could. And ad hayom hazeh, till this very day, there's no clear halach in this thing. One can some kihilas follow Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, and some kihilas follow Chacham's opinion, and therefore you daven early. However, it says that now, okay, without getting into all the whole discussion and the whole inyan, but Lamaisa said Al Rebbe, even though there's no minhag to count Sefira after Plaga Mincha, even though there's a million of people that daven Ma'ariv after Plaga Mincha before Shkia, but there's no minhag to say Sefira. However, if one did do it, can't count with a bracha because there's an opinion which says, and a minority opinion, that if just like Rabbi Yehuda held that you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv early, you could do Sefiras haOmer early and Kriya Shema also early. Other mitzvahs you could also do from Plaga Mincha on. Most opinions don't hold that way. That's a chidush. They don't know. It's only for Ma'ariv that he was lenient to daven early. But since there is an opinion which holds that you can do Sefira, and you can not only Ma'ariv, but any other mitzvah you could also that requires nightfall. You could do for Plaga Mincha on, like Sefiras haOmer and Kriya Shema. So that according to that opinion, I was already yoyt to Sefiras haOmer. So therefore, don't do it again with a bracha. You have a chiyuv to count again later at night because the ikar halacha is not like this opinion. So you have an obligation to count later at night. Not only it's good to count tonight, you have a chiyuv to count tonight again. However, to say you should say with a bracha, that not.
So I think the Sfaradim, when they daven Ma'ariv early, because the Rav doesn't want them to go home and they forget to make the Sefira, so he said with bracha, according to probably Rabbi Yehuda.
When is it? Before Shkia?
Before Shkia. You're davening Ma'ariv.
With a bracha?
With the bracha? With
I don't know. I don't know.
I know, but B'nai Yosef they don't.
B'nai Yosef they don't.
No, they announce. Because I remember I had my visitors. I stayed with my sister for a few weeks.
It's not after Shkia? It's before Shkia?
No, it's after plot.
Yeah.
Between plot.
No, he's saying that he saw a million that did do it. I have to see if the Svardim maybe the opinion which holds.
The rabbi knows if they go home, a lot of them will forget
Right.
to say the Sefira.
yeah.
So it's better off to say now the Sefira.
After plot, there might be.
But I don't know. From the Shulchan Aruch, I have to look into other poskim, if there are other opinions. But from what the Alter Rebbe says, there's no room to do it, even though it's a problem they're going to forget. But what can we do? There's no option. According to what there's no option because you can't lechatchila do it. It's only if, let's say, it was cloudy and you thought it was Shkia and you said it and then you realized that it really wasn't Shkia yet. But the lechatchila to go and do it. Obviously, in situations where, like you're saying, that people are going to forget, they should definitely, maybe they should count. But the bracha, you have to see what the shaylas, what they're relying on. Maybe they have a pasuk they're relying on.
The question: if I'm there and I will, God will remember later, I have to answer them?
You should
To be with them?
You should have kavana that you have
Not to be
kavana
with
not to be yaitz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You have kavana not to be yaitz. Yeah. Let's look at seed inside. The kolzeh, 4 lines from the bottom of the page. The kolzeh hu ben hashmashas. Up until now we spoke when you daven with a me and it's counting ben hashmashas. Avol koidim ben hashmashas, before ben hashmashas, before shkia, a minute klal lisper. There's no minute at all to count Sefiras haOmer. Hafilu even when it's erev Shabbos, makdim and live with tefillas aris with tzibur sakanasa koidim ben hashmashas. When a lot of people daven Ma'ariv early to bring in Shabbos early. Ein hatzibur soifen kal beis haKnesses. The kihila does not count at all. Halakol echet soifer basic shigizman. Everyone counts on their own later on that night when it comes to time. However, im tol b'yemem, when what happens? You made a mistake on a cloudy day. The community that made a bracha, and they didn't have clocks then. It was much easier for such mistakes to happen. And the clouds went away. And they realized that it was we counted before Shkia. The sun is still there. It looked dark, but the sun is still here. They have to count again at night, but without a bracha. If when they counted it was from Plaga Mincha. Why? The minhag ga'ilam is to read Kriya Shema of nightfall from Plaga Mincha on. Shesayim chanal oimim sheplaga mincha ve'elak shem shalayla until Sarvis of Yehuda kach v'layla Kriya Shalarvis. Because they rely on the opinion that holds that just like it's from Plaga Mincha on, it's nightfall for the purposes of davening Ma'ariv according to Yehuda's opinion. So to Rabbi Yehuda would hold that it's nightfall when it comes to for the purposes of Kriya Shema. And according to their words, it's considered nightfall also for Sefiras haOmer. We call Lakim Sichim Laws of Sefiras still in all. One needs to count again. Sfira when it comes nightfall, she'ikir because the ikir is like the opinion that holds, she plaga mincha eini chashuv kelayla plaga mincha on. It's not considered nightfall. Afilu Rabbi Yehuda, even according to Yehuda, the Indian tefillah bavad, but only for night. And only for tefillah. But not for other areas that the mitzvah is by night, and therefore you have to say Kriya Shema again at night. And Sefiras haOmer again at night. And one more sif, and then we'll make a sikum, a summary. Sif Yud Gimel. Aval medaktikim. What happens with those that we mentioned earlier, that they are medaktik to count dafke by night? Sefiras haOmer. They don't count even bein hashmashas. They don't count. Shatol b'im, when it was a cloudy day, they made a mistake, and they thought it's already night. And these medaktikim who are careful in mitzvahs, in the end, they suffer bein hashmashas. They ended up counting bein hashmashas time. Ein tzarech las of this clouds is a kav me'akadin. You're not required at all to count again when it's tzeisek yichav. Afilu b'loy bracha, even without a bracha, shekvar yatsi yechivasa v'gamri me'ikir hadin mashasafa ben hashmashas safak layla of seven different seven lahakol. Since you count the ben hashmashas, everyone is masking safik derabbanan l'kula. No one argues that you're yoytza already. Just the question we had earlier, the machlekes we had in the beginning of Sifya Beis, was whether l'chatchila you're allowed to count in that time. And the outset should you count. Should you put yourself in the situation as safek l'chatchila? But b'diavad, if you did count then, for sure you're yoytza. Safek derabbanan l'kula. You're yoytza. In the parentheses he writes, mikol mokim, even that's the ikar halacha, still in all, k'dei lacha sh'divarim sh'svira b'zman hazeh min ha'toira, toiv lahem sh'yachzor lifs b'ris kabli bracha. Since there is an opinion which holds that Sfira today is min ha'Torah, which is the sheet of the Rambam. The Rambam held that Sfira, even today, we have no Beis HaMikdash and no carbon, is still 100% min ha'Torah. Since there's such an opinion, even that's the minority opinion, it's better, toiv, to count, good to count later on at night without a bracha. But there's no chiyuv. There's no chiyuv again to count at night, because you count the ben hashmashas, and even the medaktikim, who always makbid to count later, if you made a mistake in the count of ben hashmashas, you were yoytze, and you don't have to count again. Safek derabbanan. It's only when you made a mistake and you counted before Shkia, before sunset, you made a mistake and counted, then you have a chiyuv to count again at night. Because the ikar halacha is that before Shkia is only considered Laila for the purposes of Ma'ariv. That was what Rabbi Yehuda held. But not for the purpose of any other mitzvah. So you have a chiyuv to count at night, but you can't count with a bracha. Because there is an opinion which says that just like it's nightfall, Laila for purposes of Ma'ariv, it's also nightfall for the purposes of other mitzvahs. And according to that sheet, you were yoytze sfira when you count before Shkia. So a lot of cheshbainis over here. It's a complicated, it's a long sif and complicated. So Lamaisa, just to put it, make it more clear, the best optimal way to do the mitzvah is to count it dafke b'tzeisek kichavim. If you are in a minyan which counts bein hashmashas time after shkia, and you're davening ma'ariv early, and you're counting Sefiras haOmer, it's a minyan counting them, or you happen to be by a minyan is counting them, you should count with them. You should have in mind that if I remember to count later, you should count with them without a bracha, because you're from the medaktikim who always count later. You want to count at night. If you're from those medaktikim, you should have this in mind. Say, I'm having in mind if I end up counting later, remembering that this sfira I'm counting now is not a sfira, I'm not being yoytze with it, and I count later on with a bracha. So now you don't count with a bracha. Later you'll count with a bracha. Make this condition.
If somebody is saying Sefiras haOmer,
Yeah.
he said the bracha, and he doesn't remember, he starts looking. I saw a lot of people looking what they did today. And they have a hefsek, the end of the bracha to the beginning of the numbers. What's the din there? You have to know before you make the bracha, what's the day today?
You don't. If you made a bracha without knowing, l'chatchila you're supposed to know, but the Eved Yotze. You're going to learn
But the
later.
Eved Yotze.
Yeah.
Okay.
L'chatchila you're supposed to know before you make the bracha. Find out what you're supposed to do. That's what we hear from the chazan, and you ask someone else. Now, I have to go to Ma'ariv, but the reason when we ask someone we ask usually what was yesterday's sfira. Right? Some people tell you yesterday was this. Why do they always say yesterday? Because you say tonight, you're going to be counting tonight's sfira. You didn't have kavanah to be yaitza. Like we said earlier, by mitzvah midrabanan, you don't need to have kavanah b'diavad. So you were yaitza already, you won't be able to say with a bracha. So if we always be careful and just say, yesterday was such and such. But if the person counted already, the one who's being asked, already counted Sfira, they could say tonight. They don't have to say yesterday. They could tonight is such and such. Because they already counted.
Could you say the Hebrew date?
If you don't say today or tonight is Hayoim, you're never Yoitze. If you just say a number, you're not counting. Say 20. If that night was 20, and you just said 20, someone said, what's tonight? You said 20.
No,
20, you're not yoitze. 20 is not counting.
I'm saying something else. Instead of saying, when somebody asks you, what is tonight's night? What is today's day of Sefira? It's the nighttime. Instead of mentioning the date of Sefira, are you allowed to mention the Hebrew date? Because the Hebrew date corresponds...
What do you mean Hebrew date? Give me an example.
Well, you recite a particular day of Sefira according to what the Hebrew...
In English you're saying? You say it in English?
Date is, no. In...
Say chasir.
Oh.
You said a shmona, you say
Yes.
Yeah. So the siddur is this chasir.
Yeah.
Oh, the siddur says on top of each one, you say chasir. That's not Sefiras haOmer.
Good.
Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, it's not a Sefira b'chalal. It's just telling you the day of the month.
Yeah.
You counted the day of the month. There's nothing to do.
No.
Yeah, no problem.
It corresponds to the same date.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, true. Yeah, the Siddurim people write it
Yeah.
in. Some Siddurim write it in. There's no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So when somebody asks me, what is today's date of Sefira, I just give them the Hebrew date.
It's fine. That's no problem. As long as they have such a siddur, so it's they're good. Yeah.
In the Nusach Ari Siddur, it mentions the Hebrew date and also the day of Sefira.
Some versions of it.
Yeah.
Not all. The ones that are published in Kar Chabad in Eretz Yisrael say that. The ones that are published in America don't say the Hebrew date.